In my latest conversation with Paul Strike, we discussed our upcoming Flight Instructor Professional Development Program, along with recent tragic events in Australian aviation that have seen multiple accidents and incidents. I'll explore the key lessons we can draw from these occurrences so far, focusing on how our industry can continue to improve safety practices and support ongoing instructor development. All that and more coming right up. So strap in and let's get into it.
Good morning, 7640, 95 Mallow 7 POB with altitude.
Coordinating, Halen and rudder, bank, power, bank pressure rolling to 30 degrees. That's 30 degrees there. Send by star 9000, 1013, KFI 25.
G'day everyone and welcome to episode 148 of the Flight Training Australia podcast, the podcast all about flight training and flying in Australia and beyond. I'm your host, Trent Robinson. Thank you for joining me for another episode. Nearing episode 150, if you can believe it, and the 3-year anniversary of the Flight Training Australia podcast. Yes, 3 years ago, I kicked this thing off in November and going from strength to strength. So thank you, everyone who has stuck by me, supported the podcast through Patreon, listened, shared your experiences, your journeys. It just makes everything worth it and is just such a fantastic platform to be able to share my knowledge, ideas, stories, opinions, and interview others as well to spread the message and to give everyone some great Australian content that is all based on the amazing world of flying here in Australia and the kind of stuff we get to do. It's really fantastic. So thank you everyone for sticking with me. As promised, a few days late, but the wet season seminar is now out on YouTube. And I had a great time editing again. It's always funny watching yourself after you've spoken and then some things didn't quite come out the way you meant, but I'm pretty sure the message was still well received. And to everyone who's already watched it, who wasn't at the seminar and has sent feedback, thank you. It sounds like everyone is really getting a lot out of it, which is just great. And that's all I can hope for. If it's something that just makes a little difference to someone listening to help them make better decisions, then that's absolutely been all worth it. So make sure you check that out on YouTube, guys. Look up the Flight Training Australia, youtube.com/@FlightTrainingAustralia. Otherwise, just search it up and you'll be able to find it. And of course, the link is in the episode description as well. All right, so before we get into today's episode, I just wanted to have another quick chat to you all about our upcoming Flight Instructor Development Program, which is starting on the 6th of November. And to join me talking about that is my partner in crime with the Create Better Pilots program, Paul Strike. Paul, how you going, buddy?
I'm going good. Trent, how are you, mate?
Excellent. Yep. Nice and hot over here in Darwin. How's things in Caboolture?
Yeah, it's warming up.
Very
indeed.
nice. Yes. Excellent. It's what we want. We want to get down the beach and work on our tans. So,
Well, you got time to get to the beach?
No time. Definitely no time. All right, mate. So, like, we've had the sort of advertisement out for a couple of weeks now, but everyone's heard my little spiel on things. But as we know, we're very keen on trying to improve standards overall for commercial pilots, and we elected after our discussion in Caboolture with the Create Better Pilots program is to let's start with training the trainer. So we've got a 5-week program coming up, and do you want to just help me explain to everybody what's it about and what everyone's going to get out of it, and then we'll let them know where they can go and register.
Excellent. Well, most people are probably aware that we ran the Create Better Pilots session earlier in the year, and through all the work that we've been doing, we really came down to the fact that in order to create better pilots, we need to have better instructors. And using our system syllabus and delivery and assessment model, we've identified that there are better ways that we can get the message across about flying to meet the outcomes-based result of Part 61, but do it in a way that is most effective for the student to give the outcomes that are going to be important to address things like what happened recently down in Bacchus March. It's terrible. So, early solo student, we shouldn't be letting this sort of thing happen. So we need to make things better and create better instructors to deliver better content. And the programs that we're going to run on Wednesday nights, we're going to look at each section of the syllabus leading up to circuits and including circuits, and just talk about the way that we can deliver it so that there's better outcomes and more effective delivery so that the students can become more confident and more competent.
Absolutely. I'm doing grade 3 at the moment, and I had that exact discussion today with my instructor trainee, who we sort of identified some things that he was struggling getting out of I'm the student mode to now I'm actually the guy in control and in charge, and how to help him be overall in charge of the whole lesson, but at the same time trying to encourage the student to be acting like the pilot in command, because that is ultimately what we're teaching. And they need to be the ones that assess the risks and spot the hazards and fly the aircraft in the way and give themselves time when they're feeling compressed and all these sort of things to help minimize incidents, accidents, loss of control, and just have a great, safe flight overall.
Absolutely. And the other thing that most instructors need to understand is for them to reflect back to when they got their first qualification, whether it be an RPL or an RPC or a PPL or whatever it is, the day that you get issued that does not mean you know everything. And there's a learning program, a learning curve that you're going to undertake so that you can improve your skills of delivery. And it's unfortunately, it's not like the Matrix. We can't just download how to be an instructor. It's learning, and every student will pose their own challenges. So, whilst the outcome is, fly from A to B and do turns or do climbing and descending, every single student is going to have a different perception about the way you deliver it. So when you say it, 3 out of 10 people might understand it, but the rest of them are like, I've got no idea what you're talking about, mate. So you have to have a whole bunch of bags of goodies in your bag to be able to deliver things in a different way. And the only way you can do that is by getting out there and doing it. It's not automatically, just because it's on your license as an instructor doesn't mean you can do everything. And it's not just the instructors, it's the CFIs and it's the senior instructors, and it's the culture of trying to mentor people. And don't just say, oh, you got an instructor rating, congratulations. Don't get it too wet. There's an aeroplane and a student out there, go out there and go and punch some holes in the skies and make me some money. That's not what it's about.
Absolutely. And I think that's important to mention. So the very first session we're doing is really not just for grade 3s, 2s or 1s. This is going to be for anyone involved in instructing, irrespective. And again, we're going to set some of the record straight as to this whole concept that you have to be a grade 3 first before you can do anything else. You can come in at the multi-level or the instrument level or the design feature level. There's all sorts of different options there, and revisit some of those PMI principles and concepts. And then after that,
Absolutely.
The remaining 4 sessions, like I said, we're sort of going to talk about all the common pitfalls and traps and things to do with straight level through to circuits, aren't we? But not necessarily trying to standardize you, but things you can take back to your workplace and pass on and hopefully make things easier for everybody.
Absolutely, because the world is full of individuals and there is no one size fits all. And to think that there is a standard way of delivering things is not going to meet the requirement. Sure, there needs to be standardization, particularly if you're in a school with multiple instructors, that, little Jimmy comes out to go taxiing and if he flies with Bob today, Bob wants 1200 RPM on the taxi, but instructor Peter wants 1000 RPM, and then instructor Jill wants you to pull the throttle all the way back to idle and stand on the brakes. There has to be standardization from that point of view so that the student doesn't get confused and frustrated. But we need to make sure that there are options. And we're just going to talk about the options. There's more than 300 ways to bake a cake, and they all turn out to be a cake. It's just that some cakes are much better than other cakes.
Yeah, that's it. Especially our cakes, so nice big ones.
Oh, too many.
All right, awesome, mate. Look, I'm really looking forward to presenting all this with you. And like we said, so it's starting on Wednesday, the 6th of November, and it's going to be every Wednesday night thereafter. Now, the timing is, we have done our best, folks, but given daylight saving is starting, we've now gone into 5 different time zones in Australia. So we've had to do it so we can hopefully get West Australians just after work and maybe stay at work and join us before you go home, and not too late for the New South Wales people and the Victorians who are more like an 8 o'clock sort of time zone. But it'll definitely be worth it.
And we'll be recording the sessions as well, so we can reflect back on it if you happen to miss
100%,
something. But,
yeah, if you miss a session, it'll be recorded and you'll have access to that online later on. And if you can't make the courses, like I said, you can pick and choose, or you can join all of them, and it's going to be highly interactive. So each session will be going for an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on the level of interactivity, and really look forward to meeting everyone.
Absolutely. It's going to be great.
Awesome. All right. So if you want to get involved in that, check out the episode description. The link will be there. It'll be regularly posted on Strike Aviation and obviously my social media pages. Get onto that. And any questions you'd like to know, ask. If you have got a big group of instructors in your workplace and you want to get a group discount, email us and we'll see what we can sort out for you there as well. The more, the merrier. All right, mate.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you online soon.
Sounds good, mate. All the best.
All right, see ya. All right, so if you are keen to join us in a couple of weeks, check out the link and the details with this episode. As always, jump on the socials, or you can search for the Instructor Development Program on trybooking.com. It will be 5 Wednesday evenings, and you can enroll individually in each one. And unfortunately, that's how we have to do it with the TryBooking setup, to be able to send you links for each episode or each event. And we definitely would love to have you all there. So as Paul touched on there, and as I said in the intro, it has been a difficult few weeks in Australian aviation with several incidents, accidents, and some tragic losses. I do want to extend my heartfelt condolences to those who lost their lives, as well as their families, friends, colleagues, and everyone who knew them affected. Australia, aviation is a small, tight-knit community, even though we are a massive country. And if you're in it for long enough, you will inevitably know someone who loses their lives. Unlike many other industries, though, ours does take these tragedies to heart and actively works to prevent them from reoccurring. Education campaigns, the ATSB investigations and the reports, CASA webinars and other organisations, plus the consistent efforts of flight schools to reinforce the safety message and the safety delivery and training all contribute to this goal. However, one major challenge remains: the influx of new pilots entering the industry and those that get disconnected and aren't in the face of these safety messages. It is for this reason, and many others, it's essential that we continue to educate and promote safety. We must guard against complacency, overconfidence, and the assumption that we know enough. Training practices need to evolve to address both new and long-standing risks, with regular syllabus updates, reviews, and retraining for instructors and pilots alike. With this in mind, I'd just like to review a few of these accidents and incidents that have been reported, looking at some of the key lessons we can take away, even before the final reports are completed. Now, if you've listened to me and know me well enough, I am not one to try and take the role of the ATSB investigators. It's not my place to try and place judgment on the crew and why things happened. However, these events do offer valuable reminders, and we can act on those immediately to strengthen our commitment to safety. As Paul mentioned, the tragic fatal crash of a young pilot in Cessna 150 in Bacchus Marsh earlier in the episode. The aircraft reportedly crashed soon after takeoff, and there are a number of things that we can think on and reflect after this accident. Effective takeoff safety briefs, engine failure after takeoff drills and procedures, even the pre-takeoff checks, all can contribute to help avoid potential after takeoff accidents and incidents. If you want to know more about takeoff safety briefs, I go through this in length in episode 13. And along with that is the dreaded turn back, otherwise known as the impossible turn. Now, whilst that's not an issue with this particular incident, it doesn't appear, I am watching more and more on Facebook and such platforms of the concept of turning back instead of the hard and fast nose down, 30 degrees either side of the runway center line, gear and flappers required. Now, is there a time and place where we can turn more than 30 degrees? Absolutely. I did it with my guy the other day in the 210. We were taking off perpendicular to the coastline, just on upwind. The whole point was to have him manage the bank, the balance, and the coordination to turn 90 degrees so we could land on the beach or in the marshlands rather than out in the water. Sometimes, though, you might be too low and that decision itself is taken away from you. But the whole concept of instructors and students starting to sneak in that a turnback is available after 700 feet is complete and utter bullshit. I talk about it in that episode why, but there are far too many variables to be able to just make that blank open statement. So if you are doing that, I strongly recommend go have a listen to episode 13. But in short, we need to be thorough with our takeoff safety briefs, our engine failure after takeoff drills. Again, something I've raised multiple times, where just pointing the nose and saying, I'm going to land there and then going around isn't enough. It's too easy to think that we're going to make it because we know we're about to put the power back on. Waiting a few more seconds to see what our students do, what the pilots do and check rides will then soon tell whether they really are prepared and have really thought about their actions at that particular airport on that particular day or not. Unreported in the media, but a similar incident nearly unfolded recently at a CTAF aerodrome when a light aircraft experienced engine failure shortly after takeoff, just a few hundred feet above the ground. The outcome was witnessed and very nearly tragic. After speaking with the pilot by someone there, they believed they'd lowered the nose enough, but by the reports, they hadn't even been close, and the aircraft had a very hard impact with the ground. Fortunately, the design of the aircraft with a strong undercarriage and large tyres helped absorb much of the impact. Any higher, and the results would have been very, very different. Interestingly enough, the pilot mentioned attempting to raise the flaps, or they thought to do so. Of course, however, removing lift generated by a camber, it becomes essential to immediately compensate with either an increase in angle of attack or increased airspeed, neither of which were achievable in that moment. It's thoughts and responses like these under startle surprise scenarios that underscore the importance of repeated training and discussions on handling emergencies, as they could ultimately be life-saving choices. The pilot, very bravely, has agreed to be interviewed and discuss the story because they recognize that what happened to them could help somebody else as well. And I absolutely applaud that and hopefully be able to bring that to you at some point in some shape or form. The next incident was a pilot who was the sole occupant of the aircraft conducting agricultural operations at a rural property. Landing the aircraft when a foreign object became jammed between the rudder pedals, resulting in a loss of control as the plane collided with terrain. The pilot thankfully managed to free himself and escape with minor injuries before the the aircraft caught alight and was completely destroyed. Just terrifying stuff. Right? But this is a valid reminder about the thoroughness of our pre-flight inspections, checking our control surfaces, checking the linkages, but also being mindful of foreign objects in the cockpit. Right? If you ever drop a pen, a battery from your headset, anything solid enough to jam controls, you must ground the aircraft until it is found. Right? Aircraft controls have been jammed by as little as a coin, so it needs to be taken seriously. Even worse is accidents that have been attributed to control locks being left in place or incorrectly installed control cables after maintenance. I just picked up the Baron after maintenance the other day with brand new control cables. Not that I distrust the maintainer, he's fantastic, but I thoroughly checked everything was working in the true sense and the correct sense to avoid any unexpected effects on takeoff. Just another way how, irrespective of anything else, maintainers, refuelers, pilots, operations, air traffic control, etc., all interlink with what we do day to day and can have an impact on one another unintentionally. And finally, the most recent fatal mid-air collision of two aircraft, evidently a Jabiru and a Cessna 182 in New South Wales. Again, absolute tragedy, and my condolence to everyone involved. I've seen many Facebook posts about mandating ADS-B in and out in all aircraft and how this would make a big difference. As you no doubt, CASA are pushing ADS-B installations in aircraft very heavily, with the rebate being extended. However, whilst a great tool for en route flying, I find personally that close to airport situations, it can be going off with aircraft in the circuit, at holding points on the ground, and is often more of a distraction than a helpful tool. This being the most common occurrence simply leads to pilots ignoring these repetitive alerts, which ultimately reduces the safety benefits. Just like GPS alerting you to airspace ahead, or your TORS, the terrain awareness going off because you're flying to an airport that's not in the database. How many times do you just ignore those when it's possible that this is the one time you actually need to be paying attention? Now, I don't know the cause of the accident, and again, I'm not trying to say what it is, but if a mid-air collision happened due to the unawareness of each other in the air, I believe this airstrip nearby where it happened is popular and busy by reports, but not being there myself. But I do wonder, however, more the topic we should be looking at is, did both aircraft have a radio, and were radio calls made and heard by both on the correct frequencies? More than mandating ADS-B in all aircraft, I do find it interesting that in 2024, the mandated requirement of radios in all aircraft is still not a thing. As per the Manual Standards 91, Chapter 2618, an aircraft is not required to be fitted with a radio when flying under the VFR by day in Class G airspace at or below 5,000 feet. Now, I'm sorry if this upsets anyone, but if you can afford an aeroplane, you can afford a bloody radio. All right, I see ultralights and motor gliders and things with a handheld patched into their headset. If they can do it, so can you. The idea of flying around without the ability to communicate with other aircraft just makes no sense to me. See, hear, and avoid works. It's not foolproof, and it certainly isn't effective if it's missing one of those parameters. ADS-B, radios with effective broadcasts on correct frequencies, air traffic control information, and effective lookouts all play a massive role. To all those fellow aviators over the years who have lost their lives, including my dad, I will never rest, spreading the safety message, pushing myself to be a better pilot, to deliver the best training I can, and to help others do the same, so that we can do our very best in avoiding repeat occurrences and learn from the outcomes that are identified. I want to be really clear. I do not intend to use these tragedies to try and push my marketing agenda. I've been pushing these messages for a long time now, for the 3 years of this podcast and before. But it is programs and initiatives like Create Better Pilots, the Wet Season Seminar, CASA webinars and all the work they do, Safe Skies conferences, and organisations like IOPA, AFTIA, RAOZ and the RAAA, and more, including flight schools and ground schools. All the work that they do and we do makes a difference and will make more of a difference in educating pilots and helping identify issues to prevent further tragic loss of life in the future. If any of you wish to reach out to discuss any of the course offerings that I'm talking about for your organisation, please get in touch. Paul and myself would be more than happy to have a chat. And if you are struggling, if all these incidents or accidents have hit close to home and you just want to have a chat, there are a heap of organisations that can do that for you. But also remember that Angela Garvey and her team are Navigating Aviation, specifically there as a counselling service for aviation industry. Please get in touch with her, completely confidential, and really could make all the difference in just helping you process things and getting through it all. Again, I want to express my deepest condolences to all affected by the tragic incidences and accidents this week and, in the past. And let's just stick together, work together to make a safer, better industry for all of us. In the meantime, please look after yourself, look after each other, and remember the golden rule: aviate, navigate, communicate. Thanks for listening. So to those fellow aviators who have ever lost their lives in this industry, including my dad, I myself will never rest spreading the safety message, pushing myself to be the best pilot I can, to deliver the best training I can, and help others do the same. So we can do our very best in avoiding repeat occurrences and learn from the outcomes that we identify. And I want to be clear, I do not intend to use these tragedies to push the marketing of my instructor program that's coming up with Paul. But I've been pushing these messages for the last 3 years plus before I started the podcast. All right. But it is programs and initiatives like these, like Create Better Pilots, the wet seasons, seminars, and all the workshops and webinars CASA do, Safe Skies Conference, which is just finished, the work of AOPA, RAOS, the RAAA, and more, and the flight schools that put on their own courses that will and do make a difference in educating pilots. If any of you want to reach out to discuss the course offerings at your organisation, things that I can do or Paul can do for you, or I can help get your own programs up and running to spread the message, please do not hesitate to contact me. I'd love to hear from you and hear what you got to say and discuss some options. If you've been affected by the incidents or accidents that have happened recently and you need to talk to somebody, please do. Remember, Angela Garvey and her team at Navigating Aviation are there for this very purpose. So please get in touch with them, jump on the website, and Angela and her team will get you on the track and talk things through with you to whatever level you need, and of course, entirely confidential. In the meantime, please be safe, look after each other, and remember the golden rule: aviate, navigate, communicate. Thanks, everyone.